These days, I very rarely talk about devices that the viewers of my channel are probably never going to have a great opportunity to buy. But sometimes exceptions absolutely must be made because sometimes OEMs do insane things, and Huawei is guilty of such insanity right now. We are talking about a Huawei device that is being called the trifold, which I actually don't really love because it really only folds twice. There's three sections, but it only folds. We'll get into that. So, okay, let's start at the beginning, which is a very good place to start. Last month, a guy named Digital Chat Station, who very regularly posts on a Chinese social media website called Weibo, posted this. I saw a new folding prototype phone. By the way, this is being translated from Chinese, so some of the wording might be a bit weird. From a certain factory. They did not name where it was coming from. Obviously, it's Huawei. It is the world's first, quote unquote, triple folding screen. Again, it's only folding twice. I don't like the way this is being worded. Mobile phone with inner folding and outer folding double hinge design, right? So this thing's going to fold outer, and then on the other section, it's going to fold inner. So it folds up like an accordion, which is very, very interesting. And that makes sense. How else would you possibly do something like this? The screen pressure bar still exists. I'm not really sure what that means. The screen is estimated to be about 10 inches, and the crease control is very good. It's packed with a lot of far-leading new technologies, and there will be no competitors. Shortly after that, Ice Universe tweeted this. Huawei, actually naming the OEM, will release the world's first three-fold mobile phone. Again, not three folds, it folds twice. And there will be no competitors for a long time after release because Samsung, the only competitor, is still struggling to study how to make ordinary folding machines thinner. It is an indisputable fact that Samsung's technology. Okay, there we get into Ice Universe's sheer hatred of Samsung. So we hear about this thing, right? It's supposed to be coming. It's a crazy 10-inch thing that's going to fold inner and outer like an accordion. And yeah, that is very, very interesting. But what's even more interesting is that now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a straight up photo of this device. Let me get my photo pulled up here and we'll get this right about there. And we can zoom in. Ladies and gentlemen, this is evidently that device. Apparently, this is the CEO of Huawei, Richard Yu, or Yu Richard. I don't know how to pronounce these names or what order to put them in. So I'm just going to say Richard Yu and apologize profusely. If we zoom in, you can see a few details here. First off, this is obviously a very large device, larger than your standard average foldable. Here is my OnePlus Open. Clearly, it is larger than that. And what you can also notice here is it appears to be a hole punch selfie camera round about there, far on the left side. And that's because in this accordion design, this middle bit would fold around behind it, and then this far bit would fold behind that. So you would hold it like a regular phone. It's going to be pretty thick. I mean, they're going to have to get this thing really thin so that when it folds and then folds, it's not an absolute brick in your hand. But yeah, this would be your cover display, basically, right? So that's pretty cool. And by virtue of doing it this way, this other section here that is all exposed screen, it's going to be facing itself, right? Screen on screen. You don't want to have any, like, rocks in there, but that's true of current foldable devices. So when it folds shut, you have a cover display on the outside, and then that's it. Now, you would have sort of a rounded edge on this side that might get a little bit scratched and nicked up, but one of Huawei's first foldables, then instead of folding this way, folded the other way around, and then you just had screen wrapping all the way around the device. You kind of limit that problem a little bit with this design, but you can probably see here a crease there and potentially a crease there, which also lends itself to this idea that it is a double folding device. I'm not going to call it a trifold. That's one fold. That's two folds. I know how many folds there are. I can count. We then got this post from Digital Chat Station on Weibo. Huawei's three-fold screen real machine has been exposed, confirming that this is the real deal. The real machine is consistent with the R&D prototype I saw before, with an inner folding and outer folding double hinge design. The screen is expected to be about 10 inches with a single hole in the center located on the far left of the screen. Thickness is generally controlled. It's going to be running the Kirin 9 series platform. It is scheduled earlier than the Mate 7. That would put it somewhere like October-ish or late fall early winter for an actual release. This is not just some wild prototype. They're actually going to launch this thing. Now, unfortunately, it's a Huawei device, which means it's going to be really, really phenomenal hardware, but Huawei devices are really hard to come across outside of China. They're very heavily restricted to the Chinese market, and that means that most of us watching are going to have to wait for another OEM to produce something similar. What I want to hear from you guys is that if OnePlus or Vivo, one of these other Chinese manufacturers that you can actually import much more easily, if one of them or even Samsung produced something like this, something that was akin to a normal phone that would open up and then open up again, and you've got a proper 10-inch tablet. And let me remind you, actually, that Samsung has shown off prototypes of this exact kind of thing. We've seen this at conventions, tri-folding devices that actually only fold twice. We've seen them. They've also posted these sort of like demo videos where they show off how these things might actually work, what sorts of features they might actually have. So we know that Samsung Display is experimenting with this sort of thing. Now, of course, Samsung Display and the part of Samsung that actually makes and releases phones are not the same thing. But again, it is being worked on to some degree, so it's not necessarily that far-fetched. Would you be interested in a device like this? What concerns would you have with something like this? Maybe, seeing two creases would bother you twice as much. Maybe seeing two hinges, two more failure points. And let's be honest, it's not just two more failure points. It's a lot more failure points. Are these things that would concern you? I would love to see this conversation play out in those comments down below, guys. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more content just like this. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.